Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our technical workshops in 2022. For us, for the ANH, it's a pleasure to be with all of you again this year. We plan to be with you all Fridays, starting today until the end of the year, and bring to you all the opportunities to nominate areas in our country. We will have plenty of speakers here, and we will have people from the Geological Survey of Colombia, universities, entities. You will see that we will have a great variety of speakers. In all of those presentations, I would like always to start, or Daniel Rodriguez with me will be, we will do the opening, and we will bring some news. And this time, as our first technical workshop, we have a couple of news just to announce that the program to finance thesis and local postgraduate studies for geologists and engineers is already in place, and is done through the Ministerio de Ciencias, MinCiencias. So any interest, please contact Diana Rua. So that is a program that the agency is supporting financially. So student, I will bring more details in the following presentations. But the students in the last year and people graduated recently, be aware that something is going on in MinCiencias for all of them. Also for research groups and companies in Colombia or anywhere in the world, with the idea of the agency is to promote the evaluation in frontier areas. So don't hesitate to contact Pedro Rangel in the Geological Survey, who is going to give you an update of the situation in order to provide you with data for free if you work and you develop a case in frontier areas. So be in contact with him, and more details will be given to the industry shortly. Okay, so something that we're going to do this year is to bring the program, the chronogram of our presentations on monthly basis. So just for the month of February, today, February 4th, we will have 3 presentations. Remember that now this year we are going to have only 1 hour of presentations. Last year we covered two hours, but it was too heavy for a lot of people. We know that you are very busy, but don't forget to come here every Friday from 8 to 9, and you will get every time news about where are the places where the hydrocarbon prospectivity is present in Colombia. Okay. However, today I would like to spend some minutes in telling you what the agency is doing in the Pacific. It's something that we call the Pacific Project 2022-2025. So I will take 4 or 5 minutes to illustrate to you what the agency is doing in reducing the risk there in the Pacific area for Colombia. After me, Lina Serna, one of the ANH representatives, will be giving you the talk seismic program acquired in the Bosconia area and the Lower Magdalena Basin. There is a specific block, beam 40, that is the one that she's going to illustrate in more detail. And at the end of the talk, Arles Gutierrez, also an ANH employee, the technical person, is going to give you the talk area with production return to the ANH at Atarraya in the Llanos Basin, an area already there in the core of the main production in the Llanos Orientales, and so in the Eastern Cordillera, in the Eastern Llanos. So it's going to be very interesting for you. And don't forget, we show you the area, and you can nominate directly to the agency any of those areas if you are interested. During the month, next week in February 11, we will illustrate to you some areas in the north part of the Middle MAC, and that talk hydrocarbon prospectivity in the northern part of the Middle MAC is going to be given by the members of the UPDC University. Okay, and followed by that presentation on February 18, Universidad de Caldas will give you also an update of the hydrocarbon prospectivity in the southern part of the Middle Magdalena Basin. And we will close up our talks on February 25th, and we are going to give you an update or an interpretation of the seismic acquired by the ANH in the Las Mercedes area and the Catatumbo Basin. And also, we are going to give you details of the opportunity to nominate the area of where the Morichito field is located. That is going to be given on February 25th. Don't forget that all these presentations are going to be placed the following week of the talk on our website. You can see the presentation there and download it if you wish for further or detailed evaluation. Okay, let's move on. Just to show you what we're going to see today. We're going to see today the prospectivity of beam 40 as part of the Boscornia seismic interpretation. So a very good, nice area surrounded by how you say, by already captured blocks. So pay attention to that presentation given by Lina after in a minute. And Arles is going to talk about this great opportunity, the CPO7-1, where the Atarraya block is located, field is located. And this block is surrounded by Caracara, a lot of fields. Arles is going to illustrate to you that situation. Okay, let me give you some briefing of what the agency is doing in this frontier area, the Pacific coast, and it is a project that is started this week, and is going to last until 2025. And is done by the Geological Survey of Colombia, Universidad Tecnológica del Chocó, en territorio, Universidad Nacional, Universidad de Caldas, PGS, and the agency. So a lot of people, a lot of companies working, universities working in this Pacific coast area, where the lack of knowledge and the high risk, technical risk, has in some way prevent the nomination in areas on that specific area. Also, we have some social, environmental, and security limitations. However, the agency and all those universities and entities are working very hard, are going to work for all of you to reduce the technical risk there. And we will bring to you periodically during the year the progress of that evaluation in the Pacific coast. Something that we are going to create, or is starting right now, is the Transparency Center. In that specific place, you are going to find everything that we are going to collect from the Pacific coast evaluation. So we will do update on that Transparency Center. Okay, the information that is going to be located there, in order to determine the depth and the geometry of the basement. We are going to do extensive work from the surface geological site. We are going to acquire seismic. We are going to do some drilling, geochemistry, biostratigraphy, and we are going to determine as much as we can the hydrocarbon system present there. So let me just point it out, the specific work done by who in this specific area. I mean, we are going to have the National University working in integrating all the potential field data in gravimetry, magnetometry, bathymetry of high resolution in order to generate the basin model and identify major structures there in the Pacific, along the Pacific basin. Also, we are going to do a very extensive geological work, and it's going to be done by the Colombian Geological Survey. I mean, all the team here, Mario Cuella, Jairo, Osorio, all that team is going to work very hard. I mean, during the following years, covering all this geological surface and mapping at the scale 150,000 from the Tumaco to Rio Sucio in the north part. And that work is going to be done in 3 phases. As you see in purple, you see the work that is going to be, the area that is going to be covered in 2022. In yellow, the one that is going to be covered in 2023. And in green, you see the area that is going to be covered in 2024. So more than 38,000 square kilometers are going to be mapped by the Colombian Geological Survey during this campaign. Also, we are going to acquire 600 kilometers of seismic in 3 specific programs, 200 kilometers of 2D each one, and that is going to be done from Ismina to Rio Sucio in 3 phases, 2023, 2024, 2025. Okay, that work is going to be done by Enterritorio. Enterritorio is the entity that is going to organize that seismic acquisition for this project. In addition, the DIMAR, or National Ocean entity, is going to acquire for us piston core, and they are going also to measure heat flow values in the Pacific Ocean. We are going to collect in the number of 45 samples for piston core, and we are going to provide 20 measurements for heat flow. All those this work done this year by DIMAR. In addition, the National University is already progressing in 2 fairway prospective play fairways studies, one in the Atrato subbasin and another one in the Pacific offshore. So couple of interesting evaluations integrating technical existing information is going to be done by the National University during this year. So in addition, you know that that we have this amount of seismic in the Pacific and Tumaco area. We have almost 17,000 kilometers of 2D seismic, and also almost 2,000 kilometers of 3D seismic. And all that seismic is going to be reprocessed by the PGS during this year. Okay, as you know, historically in the Chocó and in the Pacific area, a lot of samples have been collected historically by the ANH and others. And all those samples are in the Geological Survey in Bucaramanga, in the Litoteca. And all those samples are going to be evaluated by the Universidad de Caldas. This year, they are going to perform some geochemical, petrophysical, biostratigraphic studies on those samples. Around 150 samples are going to be evaluated as part of this project. And finally, and maybe the most important, is that the agency, also with the help of Enterritorio, is planning to drill 3 stratigraphic wells in the area, the Tado well here in the Condoto area at a depth of 7,500 feet, and that is going to be done this year. Also, the agency is going to drill El Morro well at 8,500 feet in the Tumaco Bay. So, and it's going to end up with the drilling of the Curvarado, the well in the north part of the Pacific coast at a depth of 12,000 feet in 2024. So Tado is going to be done here this year, 2022, El Morro in 2023, and Curvarado in 2024. Okay, so that is the summary, and that is the message that I'm giving to you today. The agency, in conjunction with the Geological Survey, National University, Universidad de Caldas, Enterritorio, PGS, Universidad Tecnológica Chocó is starting this program that includes mapping of 38,000 square kilometers, seismic acquisition of 600 kilometers, drilling of 3 stratigraphic wells, Tado, El Morro, and Curvarado. Gravity and magnetometric evaluation are carried out by the National University. Piston core and heat flow is done by DIMAR. Reprocessing of more than 1,700 kilometers seismic 2D is done by PGS. Is going to be done by PGS. studies of prospective play fairways in the Atrato and Pacific shore are in progress already with the National University, lab characterization by the Universidad de Caldas, and program of social and environmental aspect are being done by the Universidad Tecnológica Chocó. Okay, thank you and for the patience on this introduction with the Pacific. Just to know what is going on in the Pacific, and then we will keep going forward. So, Daniel, it's your turn.
Okay, so welcome to everyone. Thank you, Miguel, for the presentation of the different projects that will be carried out this year into the Pacific area. Now, I will give place to Alex Gutierrez. Alex is a geologist from the National University of Colombia. He was graduated in 2006, and he got more than 12 years of experience working with different companies from the oil industry, as Gran Tierra, Emerald, and currently he's working for the ANH. Afterwards, we will have a Lina Maria Serna presentation about the program, the seismic survey of Bosconia. Lina Maria is graduated from Universidad de Caldas in 2003 as geologist. Afterwards, she was graduated as geophysicist from the National University of Colombia. And she got more than 10 years of experience working with HOCOL and currently with the ANH. So now let's give the stage to Alex for this presentation about the CPO-7 into the Llanos Basin. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Okay, good morning to everybody. In this occasion, I'm going to present the Atalaya field. That is an area with production returned to the ANH in the Llanos Basin. This will be the agenda of the presentation. I start with the location, next the infrastructure and the regional framework, following with the generalities, production, correlation, and well, structural maps and volumetrics of the Atalaya fields, and I will finish with some conclusion and recommendations. The area is located in the department of the Meta in the municipality of the Puerto Gaitán. The Atalaya area is within the remaining area of the CPO-7 contract signed in January of 2009. The area around the CPO-7 contract is referred as CPO-7-1, and this status is available to nomination. The nearby fields are those related with the Caracara contract and will be between 15 and 20 kilometers, and the other fields on the Guarrojo contract that are at a distance between 13 and 20 kilometers. The area has several unpaved roads and is crossed by the ODL pipeline, Oleoducto de los Llanos Orientales. Near is the EBR1 station and 18 kilometers and Rubiales station and 52 kilometers. The regional geological framework on the left within the structural domain map and the right the Wheeler regional stratigraphic diagram. The CPO-7 and CPO-7-1 are characterized by the belong of the Bichada domain. That is characterized by the thinning sedimentary section overlapping on the basement normal faults and drop structures. Stratigraphically, the block have sequence of the Carboneras C1 to C7 above Mirador Formation and discordant of the Cretaceous Guadalupe, which are discordant on the Paleozoic basement rocks. The main reservoir is the level C7 level. The database for the 2D seismic database, this block has 32 profiles in the 5 programs and one main 3D segment program that is Atarraya 3D, which gas and total coverage of the 8% of the all the block. For wells, there are 4 wells. The generalities of the Atarraya field. The field has discovered in April 2012 with the Atarraya 1, demonstrating production in Carbonera C7 formation. Subsequently, to determine the limiters, wells are drilled. Atalaya 4 directional drilled in April 2013, producer information Carbonera C7. Atarraya 3 directional drilled on June 2013, but showing no oil presence, so it was converted in an injector for water disposal. In the structural correlation, show the areas with the test area. In green, in this part, in green, there is the producing oil, and blue water producers. Where is observed that the Atarraya 3 wells below contact oil water. In the production graph, the spud days and the producing water in can be seen in the arrows. In March 2012, as the result of the falling of the prices of the oil and the economic crisis agreement with the COVID-19 health emergency, the production of the development wells are suspended. In this moment, the wells are in process to abandonment. Even the facilities are in field, and it is waiting to make the decision. At the bottom, you can see the production of the completely and the entire field, and this top discriminated on each wells 1, 4, Oeste 1, and injection Atalaya 3, Atarraya 3. The field has a maximum of oil production in the first quarter of 2014 with an entry of production for the 2 Atarraya wells 1 and 4 with almost 1,900 barrels per day. By in this point, the BSW was on 55%. For that point began the decline of the production and ended the production until it was suspended with about 218 barrels and BSW of 96%. The production of the wells was carried out with the ESP lifting system. The Atalaya Oeste well began in the initial tests that were 486 barrels of oil per day with an BSW of the 46% with an ESP lifting system. By plugging several cleaning works were required, and in middle of the 2018, the well is closed with the average production on 94 barrels of oil per day with a BSW of the 83%. In this structural correlation, the 4 wells of the well are observed for the source wells to the northeast. Here, the top of the Carbonera C7, you can see the production on level and corresponding field sand. And this is the field sand. When the green spheres that are just with the oil test, and the blue spheres that test with water. Although the altro wells 3 was not tested, it was used as water disposal. In the initial test, the Atarraya 4 well was the major with the most 750 barrels of oil per day in the initial flow and the low BSW. Also observed the correlation of the heterogeneity of the sands of Carbonera C7, where only the upper level, this is the upper level, and the and the some lower ones have continuity through the wells. This is continuity along the field. In this slide, this map is the starting map with the proposal to drill Atalaya 1, and this map is generated with the interpretation of the 3D seismic. For the volumetric section, to show that according to the reservoirs report of 2012, the fields had 5.4 thousand original oil in place barrels and recovery estimated with the information of the wells of 34% of the recovery factor. The operator estimated that it could be improved the recovery up to 40%, and according to the figure, have remaining resources almost 300,000 barrels of oil. The calculations were made with the operator mapping and with the recovery rate on 34%, the value remaining resources will be closing on 130,000 barrels for oil. With respect to the perspective of the rest of the available area, it should be noted the some stratigraphic geoforms have observed such an alluvial channels of Mirador that undermine the overlying unit Guadalupe, generating a pinch out between Guadalupe and Paleozoic rocks in this part. Also, observing the stratigraphic correlation, is possible to see some lateral changes of the Carbonera C5. This is the Carbonera C5, and eventually the stratigraphic changes on Guadalupe to become a basal sands that are observed the east of the basin. This is the Guadalupe, and this is the typically basal sandstone. In this arbitrary line, a flattening of the C1 Carbonera. It also observe the pinch out of Guadalupe formation against Paleozoic rocks. This is Paleozoic, and this is the top of Guadalupe. Conclusions, the Atalaya field was discovered in 2013 to learn for the 2D seismic interpretation and refine it to the 3D seismic interpretation. 4 will drill 3 of them to oil producers and 1 used to injection. The lifespan of the field is producing about 1.8 million barrels of oil and 12.2 million barrels of water. According to the operators data, there are still between 130,000 to 300,000 barrels to be produced. The prospectivity of the adjacent available area is related to pinch out of Guadalupe formation and undermining for the levels of Mirador over the Guadalupe. Although it is not necessary to rule out possible geoforms in channels of the C5 and C7 sublevels of Carbonera. For the observation on board stratigraphic characteristic, it is necessary to make more exhaustive interpretation according to work of seismic attributes for the 2D seismic and to knowing the potential of the whole area. Finally, this is the area of the CPO71 walk available to nomination. For the CPO7 zone, we must be waiting for the next update of the land map to know the exact moment to place in this area as available. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, Alex, thank you very much for the presentation about Atarraya and the CPO71. And now we will give the stage to Lina Maria Serna with the interpretation and the whole acquisition of the Bosconia program into the Lower Magdalena Valley. Thank you again, Alex. Remember, everyone, that at the end of the session, we will have the questions. The questions will be mainly in Spanish in order to make it a bit easier for our presentations the day of today. Lina?
Good morning. Can you see my screen?
No, not in this very
No?
moment. Now we do.
Yes?
Yep.
Good morning. This presentation is about the seismic acquisition, processing, and interpretation of the Bosconia North 2D seismic program that is located in the eastern part of the Lower Magdalena Valley Basin. And this program was acquired in the second semester of the 2021. For the content of this presentation includes an introduction, then the introduction, the main infrastructure, the geological framework, database, seismic interpretation, prospectivity, and conclusions. As a part of the introduction, the ANH has acquired different seismic programs since 2015 to this year, corresponding to 8 programs located, 1 in the San Jacinto Basin and 5 in the Lower Magdalena Valley Basin, where 2 of them are located at the are located at section in the Cesar Rancheria Basin and Las Mercedes. Recently, the ANH has acquired the Repellon 2D 2021, and the Bosconia North is located in this part that corresponds to the Lower Magdalena Valley Basin. And the length of this program is 216 kilometers and corresponds to 16 lines. The Bosconia North 2D was acquired to the northeast of the basin between the areas BIM 40 and BIM 41, and part of the BIM 42 area, which were promoted in the Colombia Round 2021, and the BIM 41 and BIM 42 blocks were awarded in this round. The seismic program was acquired only in the departments in the Department of Magdalena due to the indigenous limitations referred to the black line in the Cesar department. And the municipality's influence corresponds to 83% of Ariguani. That it corresponds to the green color. Santa Ana, 14%, and Pijino del Carmen, 3% of influence. The corporation that regulates this area is Corpo Magdalena. The northern part of Colombia has different pipelines, as gas pipelines, oil pipelines, where the BIM 40 is crossed by the gas pipeline El Difícil Barranquilla, and the closest station is El Difícil Station. The another pipelines are Jobo Tablón Cerro Matoso, Jobo Tablón Cerro Matoso, and Jobo Tablón Mamonal, and Cincelejo Guape. And this is a gas pipeline located in the eastern part, it's Vallenos Barranca Bermeja and Santa Marta Fundación. And the another oil pipelines are the main oil pipelines are Caño Limón Coveñas and ODC, or Oleoducto de Colombia. The Lower Magdalena Basin is a four-arc basin located in the northwestern of Colombia. It is limited to the west and northwest by San Jacinto Fault Belt, to the east by Santa Marta Bucaramanga Fault System, that is the limit between the Lower Magdalena Basin and Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta and Cesar Rancheria Basin. To the south and southeast by the Central Cordillera, is limited by the Central Cordillera and the Serranía de San Lucas. This basin is a mature oil and gas front that was filled from Oligocene, mostly of plastics, with some carbonates associated to Ciénaga de Oro formation, that this age is mainly of the upper Oligocene to lower Miocene, which were deposited in a flat subduction four-arc setting. In the basin has been found hydrocarbons, both in clastic patches of the Porquero and Ciénaga de Oro units from Oligocene to Middle Miocene ages, as in carbonate patches of the Ciénaga de Oro unit. And it also in tuberous formation, that is the age of upper Miocene, but in less proportion. For example, in the discoveries of Consuelo and La Mocha. And the main hydrocarbon source is found with Oligocene to lower Miocene, but in recent studies by the Universidad de Caldas, maybe has yields in sequences for the source rocks. This is the map of Bouguer anomaly acquired by NH on lithosphera in 2015 that shows different morphological features as basement structures allow the tectonic segmentation of the basin with the formation of two dipocenters. To the northern part is the Plateau dipocenter, and is separated by the Maganguesi Cucohai, and this for the southern part to San Jorge dipocenter. In the Plateau dipocenter, the depth of the basement is greater than 7,000 meters, and San Jorge dipocenter located in the southern part, the depth reached 5,000 meters. Other features are the positive anomaly representing the high basement as the San Jacinto Fault Belt and Serranía de San Lucas, and el deficit high that is in trend with the Arjona and Brillante structure. Most hydrocarbon accumulation are found around the dipocenter, the Plateau dipocenter, with light oil and gas condensate to the east, wet gas to the west, and dry gas fields is more common in the San Jorge dipocenter. The B40 area has 17 2D seismic programs with a total length of 1,251 kilometers. These surveys have been acquired since 1967. And the recent programs are Arjona 2D, that is located in the northern part of the B40, Nueva Granada 2019, that is located on the west part, And the most recent is Bosconia North 2D in 2021, that it corresponds to the red lines. Most of the part of the survey was acquired in the BIM 41 area, but this area actually, or nowadays, is acquired by Louis Energy in the 2021 Colombia round. That BIM 40 is offering area that is different, that has a 3D seismic too. La Pinta 3D in the block is 58 square kilometers in the block. And the Vasconia 2D seismic program consists of 16 seismic lines, 10 deep lines, and 6 strike lines acquired in the months of July and September of 2021 by the Vector Geophysical Company, and processed by Infopetrol by inter-administrative contract between the ANH and Enterritorio, where the deliverables were PSTM and PSDM versions for each line. The project ended on November 30 with official deliveries to the EPICs. For the acquisition parameters, the program was initially designed with 15 lines to acquire 216 linear kilometers of all 15%. But for social reasons, it was finally designed with 16 lines, with 216 kilometers, with a total of 4,917 source points, and 10,703 receiving stations. This design contemplated that the first and last stage must have a 15% fault in 216 kilometers, for which 44 kilometers of tapes must be added to complete this fault. The acquisition parameters consisted of mainly of our record tools of the equipment was WTU 508, and the sample rate 2 milliseconds, and the record length was 5 seconds. The source used was seismic gel. The charge was 2.7 kilograms at a depth of 10 meters for the hole, with an interval of 50 meters of the source and the receivers 25 meters. For the BIM 40, 6 exploratory wells have been drilled in the block, where the first well drilled in the area was the Costa Rica one, well in 1946, and the last well was La Pinta 1 and Guamito 1. La Pinta 1 drilled in 2009 by Petrolífera. These wells, Guamito and La Pinta, had gas and oil production. The Guamito was drilled by Chevron in 1975, reached a depth of 2,060 feet. It produced gas and condensate in the Intraporquero and Ciénaga de Oro formation. The results of the tests indicate presence of liquid and gaseous hydrocarbons at Intraporquero level and the Ciénaga de Oro formation. The well was closed on June 1979 and abandoned in 1984. gas was not considered commercial at that time. The another well was La Pinta 1, drilled in 2009, and it reached a depth of 11,250 feet. And it was drilled by Petrolífera. The well produced from the Upper Portero and Ciénaga de Oro formations by 1 month between December 2011 to January 2012. The well produced in this interval at the Upper Portero unit with a total production of 3,100 barrels of condensate, more than 12 million of cubic feet of gas. Well, this well was in a period of short production tests from 6 December 2011 until January. During the 23 days of the first semester, on average production of 163 was recorded. All the facilities of the field were removed and the bit itself was left closed with a pipe tip plug as the first control system in case of gas influx. The commerciality was not declared. Definitive abandonment was carried out in 2013. This slide shows the processing results. For example, for the line BNH 2020-01, to obtain the PSTM and PSDM products, for example, in this line. The first picture corresponds to a PSTM, where the process is at the beginning of a noise attenuation. First arrivals, amplitude recovery, the convolution, refractive statics, and different velocity analysis with the residual statics. And then the result, it was a PSTM with a Kirchhoff analysis with different iterations. And it, at the end, it was applied different filters. For the PSDM, contains a construction of a structural model and a construction of the intervallical velocities using the PSTM, with their velocities and the structural model. And the PSDM had different iterations with residual analysis of velocities over the gathered PSDM. This is the seismic interpretation with a composite lines that corresponds to lines, pre-existing lines of the different oil surveys, and this line corresponds to the line acquired by the Bosconia 2020. It corresponds to a composite line with direction west to the east, and it is the interpretation, where in the deeper part is the basement that is controlled by the intensive faulting of the region. And the blue horizon corresponds to Ciénaga de Oro formation, and the eastern part, there are different normal fault system that is controlling the structures in the Ciénaga de Oro and the Porquero formation. This corresponds to upper intra-Porquero upper D, that is this horizon is the producer of the Guama block of the Pedernalito. It's characterized by the high amplitudes in the zone. This is another composite line with direction now northwest to the southeast. This corresponds to the GM 1991. This is program of Guamito 91, and this line corresponds to the ANH 2020-01. This is a composite line that it is identified the difícil high controlled by the normal fault named the Alejandria's fault. And in this high, the Ciénaga de Oro formation corresponds to limestones controlled by the basement configuration. To the eastern or to the southeastern part, the Ciénaga de Oro formation is deeper, and it's controlled by local normal faults that is higher to the southeast, and in that part it corresponds to the Brillante area. Another different place or closures or stratigraphic place currently the B40 is associated to Ciénaga de Oro formation to the southern part of the B40. There is a deep line, a front with direction west-east, that it corresponds to this line, crosses the Guamito La Pinta structure that it is located in the southern part, corresponding to an anticline segmented by local normal faults affecting the Ciénaga de Oro sequence, where Guamito 1 will reach the crest of the structure and La Pinta 1 reach the east compartment. Another play is associated to a stratigraphic play associated to the amplitude anomalies at the level of Porquero formation, corresponding to a combination of shell with interlayer sands that are part of the late sedimentary field of one of the submarine canyons. There's a straight line, the directions south to the north shows a major normal fault that it corresponds to fault bounding el difícil basement height and northwestward programming section with defined platform edge, which also migrates northwestwards through time. And in the southern part is the Guamito La Pinta structure, dominated by normal faults, and is being controlled to the north by a mud diapir, and at the same time is affecting the most recent sequences. Other types of plays are seismic onlap patterns of Oligocene to lower Miocene area, evidencing the transgression to the southeast of shallow marine deposits, carbonates of early Miocene age over basement paleo heights controlled by normal faults. Slope deposits involved into ground stratum, for example, the mass transport complex or MTCs. And the high amplitudes in these parts is characteristic with low large geometry. And there are different stratigraphic traps and long labs or tubing traps associated to Ciénaga de Oro formation. This corresponds to a seismic line of Guamito program that is located in the part of the El Difícil area and Binfori area. In that part corresponds to the El Difícil. In that part is corresponding to this area, where is characteristic the structural and stratigraphic plays. And the structural play corresponds to a fault and anticline affecting the Ciénaga de Oro formation, and amplitude anomalies contrast with download patterns over the unconformities. It's a incoherent conformity, and this is a part of the field over an unconformity with high amplitudes. As a result of the interpretation, we find or we interpreted 7 opportunities as a lead classification, and the another opportunity for is a Guamito La Pinta structure. This associated to Ciénaga de Oro formation, and this is at different areas calculated for that the closures. These closures are associated to the limestones of the difícil height, and this lead B, lead and lead D is associated to the deposits of mass transport complex controlled by the Alejandridas fault. And this is the structure of Guamito, and it corresponds to a closure against a normal fault, while direction northwest, southeast. And this in the another closure associated to the closure against to the diaphy, mud diaphy in intraportero D. As the conclusions, the seismic program, Bosconia North to D 2020, is located in the northeast of the lower Magdalena Valley Basin, in the Magdalena Department, corresponding to 216 kilometers of length, and it was acquired by the ANH and Territorio between the months of July and September of 2021. The final deliverables were in November of 2021. The Bosconia North 2D seismic program consists of 16 seismic lines, 10 deep lines and 6 strike lines with 4,917 source points and 10,703 receiving stations. These lines are located in the Beam 40 and Beam 41 areas. The Beam 40 area has 17 2D seismic programs with a total length of 1,251 kilometers into the area. These surveys have been acquired since 1977, and the recent programs are Arjona 2D, Nueva Granada, and the most recent is Bosconia North 2D. 6 exploratory wells have been drilled in the Beam 40 area, where the wells Guamito 1 and La Pinta 1 had gas and oil production. Guamito 1 presented several hydrocarbon shows, and indicated presence of liquid and gaseous hydrocarbons in the Intraporquero and the Ciénaga de Oro formation with different production. For the Ciénaga de Oro formation, 406 barrels of oil per day with 46.9 API. La Pinta well tested oil at Porquero and the Ciénaga de Oro. The well produced in the upper Porquero unit with a total production of 3.7 million cubic feet and 942 barrels of condensate. The last accumulated production reported was 3,176 barrels of oil, 524 barrels of water, and 12.6 million cubic feet of gas. Before we have stratigraphic and structural traps related to extensor dynamics and structural inversion that involves the Ciénaga de Oro and Intraporquero units. Thanks.
Thank you, Lina, for your presentation. So now, si alguien tiene preguntas acerca de la presentación de Lina o de Alex, agradecería que se hiciera en este momento. Tenemos 5 minutos para preguntas y las preguntas principalmente en español. Lina, tenemos una pregunta de Rodolfo Ardila. Pregunta referente a la calidad de los datos de 2021. No sé si él hará referencia al programa Bosconia Norte o estará hablando del programa Repelón. Me imagino que será de Bosconia Norte. Sí, Bosconia Norte.
Bueno, en cuanto a la calidad de los datos, pues hubo algunas limitaciones cuando estaban cerca, en los límites con la parte de la falla de Algarrobo, ¿sí? En las partes de cuando se pasaba como de un dominio al otro, del dominio de la cuenca del Valle Inferior hacia el dominio de la cuenca de Cesar Ranchería. Entonces había un poco de pérdida de imagen, pues se trabajó mucho como con diferentes modelos de velocidades, varias iteraciones con estáticas de refracción para mejorar un poco más la imagen. Pues hay algunas líneas que cuando van llegando hacia el alto de brillante, hacia el este, la imagen es buena, ¿sí? Es buena. Pero después de que pasa un poco ya esta falla hacia el este, pues la idea inicialmente de este diseño era poder unir las líneas del programa César Valley 79 que están ubicados está ubicado en la parte oriental del bloque BIN 41. En la parte BIN 41, en noreste BIN 41, con las líneas que estaban más al oeste, porque pues ahí quedaba un espacio sin adquirir. Entonces, pues la señal de ruido, o sea, la relación señal-ruido no fue como tan óptima como se esperaba hacia este sector, ¿sí? porque es que acá como estamos pasando como por todo este dominio de dos cuencas, se pierde en la parte somera.
Es importante de pronto mencionar que esa pérdida de señal ruido en la parte somera, por ejemplo, al momento de hacer las experimentales, pues la respuesta a coupling tanto de los geófonos como del mismo detonado del sismigel fue muy buena. Es posible que de pronto falte un poquito más el modelado de las velocidades de capa meteorizada para poder de pronto mejorar la señal, porque pues en relación señal-ruido tenemos un buen follow. Entonces, es probable tal vez que sea una cuestión más que todo de velocidades someras para poder de pronto mejorar la imagen, porque en cuestiones de señal ruido, por default estaríamos bien. Es más de pronto la cuestión de mejora de imagen por esas velocidades. Listo, creo que no hay más preguntas por el día de hoy. Agradecer a Lina y a Arlex y a todos los que están presentes, que este año vienen muy buenas presentaciones por parte de la NH y por parte del Servicio Geológico con todos los proyectos que se han venido trabajando. También de todas las sísmicas que se han adquirido, no solamente Bosconia Norte, también estaremos trabajando con la sísmica de Repelón, Arjona, Nueva Granada, y pues qué bueno que todos puedan seguir participando este año. Muchas gracias a todos, a Lina, a Arlex y a todos los participantes. Que estén muy bien. Hasta luego.